Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Truth Talk with Larreth, the most educational podcast that you have ever listened to. And I am your host, Larreth. For those of you that don't know who I am, I'm going to introduce myself, but I just want to touch firstly on why you should listen to this podcast. What's in it for you? Why is it important for you to pay attention and what you can get out of it, right? So this podcast is mostly about self-improvement. This is all about making you a better person. And we do that through education. Nelson Mandela made a very great quote, and he said, education is the tool we use to change the world. And it is absolutely true. If you want to improve your life, the number one thing that you must prioritize is education, is self-development. And you do that through education. You have to learn. So this podcast is mostly about the following 5 things that you can expect. Number 1, technology. We're going to educate you a lot about the latest technologies, be it AI, blockchain, crypto, e-commerce, whatever it is that's currently trending. This podcast will help you stay abreast with the latest tech news. Also, we're going to teach you a lot about business, how to start a business, how to grow a business, how to make money in any business that you have started, things like marketing, sales, human resources, operations, and everything that goes into a business. We're going to teach you. Thirdly, we are going to be inviting a lot of very inspirational people to join this podcast. We're going to be inviting CEOs, founders, business people, and each and every influential figure that we can find. So I'll tell you something that I realized I'll tell you something that I realized later on when I started my business. The importance of having a mentor. It's absolutely incredible to have a mentor. If you can have someone who's 3, 4, 5, not even 3, 4, 5. If you can have someone who is 10 or 20 years older than you, who is already where you want to be, and learn from them, copy them, you don't have to make the same mistakes that they made. It is a life hack. It's a hack to get a mentor to be with you, to walk you through. And obviously the mentor is not going to do all the work for you. But if you're having regular check-ins once every month, once every 2 months, they can help you to walk in the right direction, and you don't have to figure things out all by yourself. And the amazing thing about mentors, which a lot of us don't know, that we're not educated on, is that these mentors are everywhere. And they really, really want to help you. They really, really want to share as much information as they can with you. You just have to be the one to reach out. There's no mentor who's going to knock on your door and say, hey kid, I want to mentor you. It is your responsibility to go out there, look for a mentor, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's at a networking event, whether it's on social media or wherever, and ask them to help you out. So mentorship is important, and the reason why we're going to be bringing in a lot of inspirational figures is so that they can mentor, they can help us get to where we want to get to faster. And also we're going to be talking about self-improvement, because I'm very big on learning and improving things like your habits, time management, discipline, consistency, all these nuances that make you more successful. We're going to be talking about them. And then lastly, we are also going to be talking about the Most High God, the creator of the heavens and the earth, the one who made everything that we see. He is important. He deserves to be mentioned. This is a Christian podcast. So if you're not interested in Christian content, then this is not the podcast for you, because we are going to be talking about God a lot. Anyone who knows me will tell you how passionate I am about my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. So there is no way I'm going to start a platform like this and be scared to talk about my God. All right? So who's this podcast for? Who is it for? If you are any of these three people, if you fall into any of these three subgroups, this podcast is for you. Number one, technology professionals. All kinds of people in tech. Software developers, QA testers, UI, UX designers, project managers, founders, entrepreneurs, anyone who's related in the tech field, cybersecurity people, anybody who's in the tech industry, this podcast is for you. You will definitely become a better professional by tuning in. It is also catering to aspiring people. So maybe you're still in university, maybe you're still looking for your first job in the tech industry. This podcast will help you get there as well. Secondly, this podcast is for entrepreneurs because I'm an entrepreneur myself. I'm very passionate about entrepreneurship and businesses. So if you are an entrepreneur, this podcast will definitely help you. Maybe one tip that you listen to on this podcast can take your business from R1 million a year to 5 million rand a year. Maybe. So do tune in if you're an entrepreneur. And lastly, if you are an ambitious person in any industry, you are hungry about developing yourself, you're hungry about educating yourself, this podcast is for you. You will learn a lot. You will definitely get a lot of value by listening to this podcast. I mean, what is the alternative, right? Because by you choosing to listen to this podcast for 15 minutes or 30 minutes or an hour, we don't really know how long each episode will be at the moment. But you are basically just feeding your brain with the right knowledge, especially from a South African perspective. Because it's all good and well for us to watch American content, watch the Sam Altmans, the Andrew Tate content, the Stephen Bartlett content, who I absolutely love, by the way, and all these other amazing teachers and creators online. But this one is more tailored for us South Africans, people that are here in Mzansi, in Jersey, Cape Town, Durban, wherever you are. This has a very unique South African feel and the South African taste to it. Yeah, so 100% it will definitely help you because of the South African context to it. So why did we start this podcast? I am not alone. I do not walk alone. Of course, I do walk with the host of angels that are surrounding me. If you've got spiritual eyes, you can see that I'm not alone. I'm surrounded by a host of angels. So don't you dare think you can come for me. Don't you dare think you can come for me, because I'm surrounded by a host of angels, a legion of angels, right? But that's not my point. My point is this podcast is being produced by an entire team. So behind the camera, there is a man who's helping out with the camera. This podcast, the audio, the video will go on to editing from our editors. We have copywriters that help to come up with the content. So this podcast is not in isolation. This YouTube channel is not in isolation. There's a whole team behind it. And if you need us to help you with setting up your own podcast, do reach out and my team and I will be glad to assist you. So the 3 reasons why we started, the first one is to educate and to give information. I've already mentioned that I'm a very big believer in giving value, in educating, and just looking at someone who is where I used to be. I'm still fairly young. I'm only 28 years old. I'm very young. I do have a gray hair that stresses me out quite a lot, but I'm still fairly young. I'm 28, right? However, I do meet a lot of young guys that are 19, 20, 21, especially from Melsoft Academy, that remind me of where I was when I was still 20, when I was still starting out. So I want to help out my people. I want to help out the kid that I'm looking at, if it's Lesedi or Tando or Joseph or Aiden, all of these students that we have and people like them. Just want to help you out, give you education so that you don't make the same mistakes that I made, right? It's also to inspire you, to give you motivation for you to be able to tell that it's possible to succeed in South Africa. It's possible to start a business, become a millionaire, and grow your business in South Africa, get financial freedom in South Africa. 100% possible. Even if it's just to get a successful tech career, a great senior dev role inside 3, 4, 5 years, 100% possible. There are a lot of opportunities in South Africa. I understand that the unemployment rate is very high, especially amongst the youths. It's sitting at about 60%. It's sitting at about 60% of South African youths that are unemployed. But I honestly think that that's because of a lack of education, because there are a lot of opportunities in this country, especially in the tech industry. There is a lot. Listen, if you're a web developer, software developer, whether you're at junior level or intermediate or senior level, there are a ton of companies that are looking for your skills. There are a lot of companies that are looking for your skills. If you're struggling to get a job as a developer, and maybe you have a degree or a diploma, or you did anything that's NQF5, systems development, or even self-taught, you did some Udemy courses, or you did She Codes or any of these courses, and you're struggling to get a job, it's mostly because of two reasons. The first one would be your network is absolute trash. The people that you're spending your time with are not helping you out. The people that you're hanging out with, that you're going out to the club with, that you're going to watch the soccer game, all these people are not helping you out. They are dragging you down. So the biggest reason why I see 18 to 35-year-olds not get jobs in South Africa is because their network is absolutely trash. You have to really, really, really be careful of the people that you spend most of your time with. It is so important. If you hang out with 5 losers, you will become the 6th. And most likely you will become the biggest loser out of the group. Right? But if you hang out with 5 millionaires, you will most likely become the 6th. So the biggest reason why I see people not get where they want to get to in their careers is because their network is trash. That is it. And then secondly, failure to sell yourselves. Especially developers. Developers are very notorious for this. Failing to sell yourself. Developers will have an amazing GitHub profile or amazing dev skills. They are the best at developing. But their LinkedIn does not inspire any confidence. Or when they do sit with a recruiter in an interview, it's one-on-one, they can't clearly communicate or articulate themselves. It is a problem amongst developers. So those are the two reasons why I see people not get the jobs that they want. But the first reason is normally the most biggest one. So yeah, this podcast is to inspire you, inspire the next generation, definitely help you out in your job searches. And we are working on something that is purely a job readiness bootcamp. Maybe by the time you listen to this, it will be out. So do check out our website, melsoftacademy.com or melsoft.co.za or melsoft.net. It all depends at the time that you're listening to this podcast, right? Awesome. And then the last reason why we started it is we want to meet amazing people. I just like I was mentioning, just like I was talking about, I highly believe in the power of a network. So if you're interested in being a part of this podcast, do let me know. We would love to have you as a guest. We're looking for influential people, CEOs, CTOs, founders, senior software engineers, people that have walked the walk, not just talk the talk, but actually successful people that are established, that will come here and inspire all of our listeners. This podcast will be broadcasted everywhere on the internet. So if you do come, it'll be part of like community service of you just giving back to the youth. So yeah, we're looking for amazing people. We want to meet the most amazing people, grow our network, and the more we grow our network, then our students at Microsoft Academy will benefit from that network. So as you can see, I'm wearing the Microsoft Academy t-shirt. My name is Larreth Jimu. In case you don't know who I am the founder and CEO of Microsoft Academy, the best coding bootcamp in the world, the best online school in the world, the best online tech community in the world, Microsoft Academy. And in case you don't know my story and how I got to this stage where I am at, I'll just give you a little bit of a brief background. So in high school, I was an entrepreneur. I was doing my high school, but I was an entrepreneur. My first business was in 2013 when I was in grade 10 and grade 11. And I used to create school magazines with some of my friends, some of my business partners at the time. Desire Bunjira, if you're watching this, shout out. The late great Panashe Penda was also a business partner. Shout out. So those guys would, it was amazing, right? So what we would do essentially is we would go on Microsoft Publisher and create a magazine for what's happening in around the school, and it was called the Churchill Times. And we would then make it as controversial, make it as dramatic as possible, and then go into town, into Harare. I'm from Harare, Zimbabwe. Print those magazines and then sell them to the students for $3, which is about 50 Rand, 55 Rand, right? And that was my first business. We would make a killing. I remember when we would dish out the profits, we would make a killing. And we produced 3 editions in the first year. The second year, we really couldn't produce as many editions because it was A-level, right? So, when it's your final year in high school, especially for me as an overachiever, I've always taken education seriously. So the business kind of died down because now I had to focus on my studies, right? But we made a killing. Yeah, so that was my very first business. And after that, I went to university. So for me, university was really one of some of the best 4 years of my life and also some of the worst 4 years of my life. I firmly believe that I underachieved in university because I surrounded myself with the wrong crowd. I'm not one to blame people, and I blame myself for the crowd that I surrounded myself with. So for me, it was mostly about partying, having a good time. I had no regard for God. I had no regard for businesses. I had no regard for anything. It was just about having a good time, playing video games. And then only 2 weeks before the exams did I start studying. So I still would pass because also I was studying a major that I really didn't find inspirational. I didn't find challenging. It was very easy for me. So I'll just woke up 2 weeks before the exam, cram, write the exam, boom, 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 get B's or C's or whatever. I didn't care, and I'll pass. So for me, those 4 years in university is a complete snooze fest. I didn't do anything worthwhile. Only in my last year did I wake up when I was like, okay, now I'm about to finish. What am I going to do? So I started Melsoft. The problem that I solved at the beginning was everyone around me was looking for a job. Everyone around me was about to finish school, so they needed a job. And they all had the most disgusting and ugly CVs that you could possibly find. These CVs that use Microsoft Word, that don't have the right formatting, the worst CVs. And this software called Canva had just come out, right? So Canva was old at the time, but in Zimbabwe, no one knew about Canva. So what I would do is I would take someone's ugly Word CV and polish it up in Canva and promise them that a more shiny and a more polished CV or help them in their job search, and they would believe me. Some people did get jobs because of those CVs. So, yeah, it worked. It worked fantastically. That is how Melsoft started. I had a lot of clients. I had a lot of students knocking, and when someone saw the CV, they would go and share it, and then it would inspire someone. Then I would get a referral, and then some people would then come and say, "Can I also have a poster? Can I also have videos for my marketing event? Yada yada yada. Can I have a logo for my business?" And I would use Canva for everything. Then I taught myself Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, video editing, and all these other skills. And yeah, I was getting a lot of clients. Then one day, my brother was playing with this thing called HTML on w3schools.com. And I was like, what the heck are you doing, bro? What is this? Then he told me this is HTML. It's used to build websites. Then I binged Udemy courses. I became a self-taught developer, but obviously, when you're self-taught, you don't really have the discipline. You don't really know what you don't know. So I moved to South Africa when I was still trying to teach myself how to code. I moved to SA because in Zimbabwe, the economy is not the best. The opportunities are very limited. And I always felt like South Africa is a place where I could thrive. So I moved here when I was 23 years old, no money. And the only person that I knew was my dad. So I moved in with my dad, and I showed him what I wanted to do, and I enrolled for a coding bootcamp. Then at this coding bootcamp, I learned Python, I learned Java, I learned software development principles and all those amazing things. I landed a job 4 months after I started at that bootcamp. With that bootcamp, I worked there for 2-3 months, and whilst I was still studying, my software company, Melsoft, was getting more and more traction. I was getting more and more customers interested because I was increasing my skill set. So I decided to take the biggest risk I've ever taken. 23 years old, no money, no savings, nothing. I quit my job. I moved back in with my dad, and I started my company. I started it. 1 client led to 5 clients, led to 10 clients, and COVID happened, which was the best thing that happened to the business because everyone was desperate to get online. Everyone was desperate. So that the business really grew from then on, and we started hiring more staff, more developers, winning awards. And yeah, then later on, 3 years later, we noticed that we were struggling to hire developers, right? Struggling to get developers, struggling to hire. And what we then decided to do, my brother and I, was to create a course where if someone took our course, they can become a developer in our company, because all we needed at the time was developers. We just needed devs. And after running some advertising, the response that we got for our bootcamp was overwhelming. We couldn't believe it. We could not believe it. We thought we would get maybe 5, 6, or 10 people interested. We got hundreds of people in like a week. So it became its own business, right? It simply became its own business because now we had a lot of students that needed to be managed. We had more developers than we needed in our company. So now we needed to find these developers placements at other companies. And that is essentially what we do at Melsoft Academy. We take you from whatever level you are, whether you're a beginner, an intermediate, a senior, and we help you land the tech job of your dreams. If you need courses, we provide you with courses. But if you're already ready and you don't really need to be trained, and you're just looking for a job, you're just looking for a better opportunity, then do reach out to us, because that is what we do. We help you get the job and career of your dreams. And this podcast is one other way, an extension of us to help you get to the career of your dreams. So that's how we got to where we are now. That's just a little background about myself. The more you listen to this podcast, the more you will learn, the more you will know more about me. And yeah, so do follow me on TikTok also. I'm very active. I do give a lot of tips on there. You can follow me. The handle is at Larreth, which is my capital name, or which is my first name. And yeah, so that's all. That is the first episode of Truth Talk with Larreth. Thank you so much for listening in. It's been an absolute pleasure recording this first episode. Brace yourselves, because this is going to be one bumpy ride. It's going to be an exciting ride. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be exhilarating. It's going to be rocky, but we're here for everything. We're here for it all. We're going to have a good time, guys. I promise you that by becoming a loyal listener of this podcast, your life will never be the same again. Especially if you're here in South Africa or in Africa in general. So, thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye.